Okay, this ride is a ride along the John Muir Way, and it's basically the last part of the John Muir Way, which is North Berwick to Dunbar. So we're going along that, and then we also obviously went back. We parked in North Berwick, just beside North Berwick Law, and this is where we're starting here with this hideous, well, it's too quick there for you to see, but it's a hideous gap in a wall that you've got to lift your bike through. Now, a normal light bike wouldn't be a problem, but of course we're on e-bikes, and it's just a bit of a nightmare. I think they could have come up with something better than that. Because all the way along, although there's loads of gates, most of them are just the normal gates and very easy to open. Anyway, once we get by that obstacle and we passed all the people you can see coming down from North Berwick Law, I've still not been up that. But anyway, we started on the path here, and I've got to say, the weather forecast was going to be brilliant. At this particular point it was a bit dull and the odd spit and spot of drizzle, but nothing to talk about. But overall, as you'll see, I do show a lot of this, as I always do in my videos. They do last quite a long time, but I like to show most of the kind of the trail, if you like. So I sample bits from each along the way. Here you see John struggling to get through one of these gates. This one actually isn't too bad. There's a bit of technique, as you can see, to get through them. I'm sure many of you have been through tons of these. Anyway, onwards, and as you can see we're kind of into some nice, really good single track, and that's kind of how it is for most of the day.
Yeah.
As the track continues, you can see it's just like super smooth single track, just rolling through the kind of wooded areas.
Thanks very much. Cheers.
Now with the way, with it being late April, you were just getting the leaves, the new fresh, really vibrant green leaves coming out. And as the day progressed, the weather got better, and just the light coming through some of these trees and the leaves was just fantastic. but I couldn't go over just how good the single track was. It was smooth. It really was like being on a purpose-built mountain bike
Yeah,
track.
no worries.
Forgot to mention that joining me today was John Muir, a good friend of mine, and I think he thoroughly enjoyed the day, although you didn't ask him. Could not enjoy it. It was just
nice
great
wee bit.
tracks, and it was just a good fun day out, and the weather was to die for. So yeah, thanks for joining me, John.
Alright. You want, sorry? Path of no return. I know.
Now, although the path had been lovely and smooth, slightly undulating in bits, we were coming up to kind of the first real hill, if you can even call it that. Obviously, easier on the e-bikes. If you were on a normal bike, you'd probably find this a wee bit more of a hill to get up. But yeah, we're coming up. There's as you can see, there's a mobile mast or something at the top here, and this is I think this is the highest point of this particular route. And after this hill, it was downhill into East Linton, and the sun started to come out at long last, and the day was only to get warmer, and this was a nice wee descent, as I say, down into East Linton. And there was a wee bit of road just through the wee town, but not for long. It's hardly anything. It wasn't particularly busy, so it wasn't too much of a hardship. I'm not a big fan of cycling the roads unless it's single track roads and quiet. Although this was an A road, it was pretty quiet when we were there anyway.
It's got the right idea. Aye, I think it's enjoying the sunshine. It's had a hard day. Yeah.
So it's at this point, just after East Linton, that we turn down and we start to eventually follow the River Tyne, not the Geordie version. But just as we came along this path, we spotted an old mill just off to the left here, so we turned off the track for a wee bit and had a wee look at this old mill. It's fantastic. I think it was Preston Mill, and a wonderful old building. You'll see a couple of photographs at the end of it, but it still had a working water wheel, and it's obviously been turned into a wee bit of a kind of museum. Great wee bit. Anyway, as I said earlier there, it's now time that we're just gonna cross over the River Tyne and then follow downriver for a bit. In fact, we followed downriver all the way to the coast really.
Good dog.
But as you can see now, the sun has came out, skies are blue, it's got a lot warmer, and the colours and the trees and everything is just absolutely stunning. I've got to say, I absolutely loved this track. As I say, it was rural and kind of farm-like, but what a great track. I've been in other bits of the John Muir track, and I've still got loads of sections I want to do, but this was a lovely wee section.
Hiya. Ah, there's one here. Alright.
We're not too far away from the coast at this point. It was really, as you can see, really flat here as well as we head towards that coastline. I haven't mentioned up until now, but the signposting along this particular section of the John Muir Way has been excellent. I think the only time we did lose our way a wee bit was just in East Linton, and I think it's just we had passed by the sign that goes off to the left and takes you down to the River Tyne that you can see here. So we're just coming to the kind of end part of the River Tyne, and we'll soon be alongside the coast, as you'll see in a wee few minutes. And there we go. Yep. So we're along the coast now, and we head along to Belhaven Bay just outside Dunbar, and it's a lovely section. It gets a bit sandy, which can be kind of tricky to cycle on at times, but it's been fabulous. I mean, I don't know what this route would have been like, you know, in wet weather, maybe further back in the route when it's in the rural areas, whether it would get a bit muddy and be a different proposition, but in weather like this it was absolute heaven. As you can probably hear, it was actually quite windy at this point. It was pretty breezy most of the day, which is why I never put the drone up. But especially windy just along this part. No hassle, beautiful day, just a wee bit on the windy side, which you can probably hear in the background.
Oh yeah, thanks. Cheers.
Some of the bits along here were absolutely stunning. Lovely sandy beaches, pine trees. It was absolute heaven. I've never been along this particular section. I've been just a wee bit further along, walking the dogs before, a few years back. But this coming into kind of the Belhaven Bay area from this side was just absolutely gorgeous. We're now heading kind of alongside the holiday park, which is on the right hand side, and you've got loads of families and stuff, and petting zoos, and there was alpacas and things like that in there. It was, you know, if you're a wee child, that would have been a fantastic wee holiday if you have that there, especially if you get weather like this. Yeah, just heading to the main part of Belhaven Bay alongside the, as I said, the holiday park. Kind of passing by loads of people out just for the day walking. Brilliant. This is the really sandy bit in sections. Your back wheel and your front wheel was kind of going all over the shop at times. I enjoyed it. Good fun.
Hey! Whoa! Oh. Oh yeah. Hiya.
Hi.
Hiya. How you doing?
This is us now coming along Belhaven Bay, and as you can see you're coming across more and more people. This part of it's tarmacked as well, so it's nice easy rolling, and you head along this straight bit and then you're just coming to the wee bit of road now. The sun now was out full blast. It was just absolutely lovely. Might not be worn by some people's standards, but it was really nice. There was a bit of a breeze, but still stunning. And we come along to the kind of end of the road here, and you're coming to the, I don't know if you can just see it on the left, just disappeared. We're going to turn around and have a wee look at the bridge to nowhere. And if you don't know it, you will wonder what the heck there's a bridge in the middle of the sea for. I'm just coming up to here. There it's there. But when the tide goes out, there's actually a wee river that runs through there, and then obviously when the tide comes in, it just kind of encircles the bridge and makes it look a bit odd. Going along the golf course at this point, the side of the golf course, and we had passed a few signs. I didn't read them. I probably should have, because as I went along here, the GoPro ran out of batteries, and I'm standing on the path, the walker's path, and standing changing my batteries, and I could hear shouting and swearing, and I thought, I wonder what's going on there, somebody's falling out with somebody. Turns out the guy was shouting at me he was about to drive off the golf ball, and for some reason I was freaking him out by standing there. I mean, I did have a look at the sign on the GoPro there, and it didn't say anything about having to stop or anything, but it did say something about listening to the golfers. Anyway, I had no idea he was shouting at me at first, so I did shout a few choice words back at him. Basically couldn't make out a word he was saying, other than there was definitely the odd swear word in there. I wasn't on the golf course, I was on the path, and for some reason that was freaking him out. Anyway, he's probably ultimately thinking of my safety. He was about to drive a golf ball, which, I suppose if you get hit by one, it could kill you. But there was loads of people along there pushing prams and walking, and I'm not really sure what I'm meant to do, so no doubt somebody will tell me whether he wanted me to move on with the bike out the way, or maybe out of his eye line, maybe. That's probably more likely. Either way, yeah, I don't think he had to go as nuts as he went, and I didn't need to go as nuts as I went. Anyway, we're coming along now. Coastline, there's some lovely bits just along here with the red sandstone cliffs just as we're coming into the main bit of Dunbar, and again loads of people out walking. Sunny day, why not? And it's just as you come round here you get a view of some of the cliffs, and the sandstone is just so red. And obviously I took a few photographs. That's it there, just coming into it now. And yeah, stunning area. I made my way just along to the wee bit past where these people are sitting, and you get a decent view of it from here. Just in there, stunning. After we'd taken a few photographs there, we're just heading round now to the harbour, and by this time our stomachs were rumbling and we were ready for some food. So we thought, right, let's go find somewhere. I wasn't sure what would be open, but it turns out we did find a great wee place just further along. Down at the harbour beside the castle, it must have been some place way back. As you just get round here, you see it was built over all these, like almost joining sections of rock. It's fantastic. Anyway, had a wee look at that, and then, as I say, our stomachs were rumbling, and it really was time to find something to eat. And it had been a wee while since I'd been along here, so I really wasn't sure what there was. We're just coming along the front now. I think there was a pub up there, and I spotted a wee burger van that we're just passing. Did fancy something a wee bit nicer than that, and just as we passed this, caught sight of another eatery or kind of street food kind of shack place, just kind of behind the cars and stuff over here. And I can honestly say it was great. Lovely people and really good food. And we got the fish finger sandwiches. It sounds, when I think of fish fingers, I always just think of, bird's eye fish fingers I used to get as a kid. But no, this was lovely bit of fish in batter and kind of chips to die for, to be honest. Not normal chips, these were lovely. And it was really well done. And it was called Naughty. That's it there. Lovely people serving, good food. We sat with quite a few different people chatting, and it was good. Yeah, they all had chosen different foods, and it was quite a good menu. And we'll definitely be back, and I would definitely recommend it to you if you are in Dunbar anytime soon. Hopefully the wee place will survive. Sometimes these places will open and they don't survive long. But yeah, sorry I don't really focus on the menu long enough. Anyway, after that, I'm a wee bit annoyed with myself now looking back. I think we should have explored Dunbar a wee bit more. But we did have all the way to go back, and basically we just went back the way we came. So at this point in the video, you've got a choice. You know, I'm going to be going over the same tracks. Yes, they're viewed from a different perspective because you're going back. The light became different later on. We get some good photographs. But basically, I'm just going back the way I came. So it's up to you. I will stick some music on. If you want to leave the video now, I don't blame you. It's already been 30 odd minutes. There is some photographs at the end of this bit here. You could just see, by the way, that the tide had been over the path while we were in Eton. So it was quite a high tide. Anyway, yeah. So I'm going back the way we came. Plenty of stops on the way for photographs. The light at sometimes was really nice. Just that slightly different angle of light. But yeah, anyway, if you are leaving, thanks for watching. If you want to zoom on to the end to see any of the photographs, then feel free. But I'll stick some music on now, and yeah, I'll see you at the end, hopefully. At this point it was back up the hill, the one and only real hill I would say, and it wasn't as bad from this side. Not that anything's really that bad when you're on an e-bike. So just getting to the top here with views of North Berwick Law in the background. There's John coming up. I think he'd been dreading this, but it turned out not bad. And then it was a fun descent. These are the bits I always enjoy. We weren't that far from the finish now. We're cutting through all these right fields, and you could see North Berwick Law in the distance, just cutting along the paths, along the hedgerows here. It'd been stunning, just coming through some of the wooded areas, and the light was lovely. And it'd been a great day, an absolutely superb day. And I think it worked out about 28 miles, something like that, maybe 29 miles, in that region. But excellent single track, good crack between myself and John. The reason a lot of it was muted as well, because some of it you couldn't broadcast, and other parts of it were just our usual childish chatter. So this was coming, I was kind of dreading this again, because we're coming along to that stupid, that we've got a couple of gates here, but they're fine. But as you come down the path, remember the stupid thing they had at the beginning of the route, where you've got to climb kind of through a wall, which with a normal bike you would just put it over your shoulder and it wouldn't be a problem. But the bit further down wasn't like that. Met a bunch of young lads out on their bikes. I love seeing all the lads out on their bikes. It reminds me of when I started doing this. But anyway, just underneath this North Berwick Law now, and heading down to that dreaded wall. I know I'm going on about it, but see e-bikes lifting it through stupid things like that, and I had bags and stuff on this as well. So it becomes, and I'm, not as young as I used to be, full arthritis, blah blah blah. Anyway, we had been dreading it, got through it. Of course we get through it, but I know myself, particularly old man, trying to lift through that stupid gap you can just make out through there. This is John feeding his bike through. Let's say, I'm sure the young lads with their bikes, non-e-bikes, were probably having a laugh at us getting through it. Anyway, got through it. That was the end of a fabulous day, and now we're just getting into the photograph section. As if the video's not been long enough, I'm going to hit you with all the pictures. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this wee video, just even if nothing else, but to let you see the kind of the routes, the surfaces, etc. Absolutely fine. Unbelievably good actually for most of it on this section. Good photo opportunities along the way. You've got all the rape seed fields, etc. Bit cliche, but still lovely to experience it. And you can thrill the farmland with the horses and stuff. Great fun. Some nice views, and it's just the varied terrain. You're going from farmland and then along the coast, so it's quite a varied route. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it. You've got this far, you've only got a few photographs to go. Thanks again for watching, if you're watching, all the millions of you that are watching. Yeah. And well, I hope you join me on the next video. Cheers now.